Hello, and welcome to our video on how to publish a book on Amazon and make money. In this video, we'll talk about the 5 key factors to selling your book on Amazon, and in a moment, we'll share one of the factors that you might not want to consider but is critical for your success. Number 1, you need a great book. That might be a little obvious, but there's a lot of people who seem to upload their projects on Amazon without caring if their book's good. You need to have an editor or pay an editor once you've finished your book, but before you even get to that point, you need to have beta readers, look at your stuff. Usually about 10 is like the bare minimum. The more the better. It's usually not a good idea to use friends and family for that because they may, tell you that it's good. They may not actually express their true opinions. If you have people in your life that are kind enough to you to not do that, then go ahead and use them as beta readers. I personally have a few people that I can do that with because they're just going to tear my stuff apart because they know I want them to. And then before you even get to the beta reader phase, you need to study what it takes to write the type of book you're trying to write. If you're writing fiction, there's a lot of story structure stuff and character development stuff and actual prose principles that go into writing fiction that you need to have at least a passing understanding of if you want an experienced reader to read your book and enjoy it and think, yes, this was actually a good product and it was fun, or, whatever experience you're trying to impart on them. If it's nonfiction, there's still structural things you need to study. There's still ways that you need to write to impart the information you're doing based on the type of nonfiction you're doing. Memoir is very different than a how-to book.
Right.
So those all culminate into things that you need to understand, so then you can write a good book, then you can get your beta readers, then you can send it to your editor, or edit it yourself at the final stage if you decide to go that route. It's not recommended for almost anyone to do that.
Right.
And then you can go off and upload.
Indeed. Indeed. So that we start with a great book, because without it, the rest makes no sense at all. Won't help you in any way if you don't start there. Okay. Next, you need a great cover, right? So the important thing about a cover is it needs to look like it fits in the genre, and it needs to immediately convey to the reader or potential reader, what kind of genre this is. It doesn't have to tell the story, and you want it to have, not a ton of graphics. Like it needs to be kind of simple, because it's got to be a thumbnail on Amazon. It's going to be this little tiny little picture, and now almost everyone is searching on Amazon and everywhere else on their phone. So they're looking at a little tiny screen, looking at a little tiny photo, right? So
they need to be able to make it out and maybe even read the title on the cover, even in that little thumbnail.
Right. But maybe not. I mean, sometimes you can't get the letters quite big enough.
That's true. And that's not as important because there's also text next to it.
Right. But busy isn't necessarily a great idea. So you go to the genre that you're writing in, and you look at the top books and you see what kind of covers they have. And then you hire a designer who makes books covers specifically for the kind of genre that you're doing, whether it's nonfiction or fiction. Yeah. And then
you need a great title.
Right.
The title is what the reader sees right after the book cover. They're going to look at it, and if it doesn't match the style of what they're used to seeing, they might ignore it. If it's not a compelling title, they're gonna just gloss over it and move on. It needs to be enticing and talk to some degree about what the book is gonna be about. For nonfiction, this is much easier. You can just come up with what the book is.
Right.
You can just say... You
can say how to do whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Or this person, memoir. It's not nearly as complicated. With fiction, there's all these little things, and there's it...
But even in fiction, typically a title is shorter.
Oh, yeah.
You kind of convey the most of the information through the subtitle.
If you have a subtitle.
Right.
Yeah.
But the title itself is about intrigue and again, look at what they're doing in your genre.
Yes, your genre very much matters. Like with a lot of thrillers, it might be 1 or 2 words.
Right.
With other types of things, you might be able to get away with 5 words. But that's like a long title is like 5 or 6 words.
But even in nonfiction, I've seen a lot of very popular books more recently that's a single word. A single word, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You need a great description, which is, we've covered a little bit of this one in a previous video, but essentially your description is not a summary of your book.
Right.
It is a hook for your book. It will talk about, for nonfiction, it's way easier. You can legitimately summarize, like talk about the points you're going to hit in the book, and that's it, as well as some hooky bits that are going to make them interested, pulling on why they want to read this book and certain things.
Hook means pulling them in, right? It's like a marketing term.
Yes.
Hooking someone is like a marketing term where you want something that grabs their attention, that even makes them have an emotional response, you know? And so that's what a good hook can do.
Yes.
And so it's a marketing piece. Your description is really great, short ad for your book.
Yeah.
And a lot of people get support with that.
Yeah, a lot of authors struggle to write their own book descriptions or any type of book description because, again, with fiction, it's not a summary of your book. It's usually like a summary of maybe the first act, if even that much, and written in a very concise way so that the punches hit as hard as they can, so the potential reader says, I need to open this to page 1. Right. And then page 1 gets them going, hopefully. Yeah.
Page 1 sucks them into a story, right? That's the point of page 1.
Yeah.
All right. Finally, the 5th most important thing, and these are in the order in which they matter.
Yes.
Because you got to start with a great book, because if you don't, this one is going to be horrible, right? Because what happens with reviews, it's not just quantity, it's also quality. So if you don't deliver a good product, a good book, it doesn't matter what genre you're in, if your book isn't great, you're going to get annihilated in your reviews. And if there's a whole bunch of 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, whatever, if on the low end, if you're not getting a whole bunch of 5s, you're going to get a 3, maybe you'll get a 1. But if most of them are not good, like 5s and 4s and things like that, but you want as many reviews as possible, and the more the better, right? Eventually, when you hit like 75, 100 reviews, Amazon starts actually assuming that your book is important, that people are liking it, there's action there, people are engaging with it by even writing reviews. And so they start promoting it, okay? So you want a lot of reviews, but you want them to be favorable, and that's why the great book matters.
Yes. Also, on the other hand, you don't want all of them to be great reviews.
Right.
Because if you have nothing but 5-star reviews and you have 100, 200, 1,000 reviews on there, people and Amazon start looking at that, and even if they're all genuine, they think, were those bought?
Yeah.
So don't beat yourself up. Don't really just get all upset if you get a couple 1-star reviews. It's probably going to happen because you're not going to please everyone with your book.
No.
That is impossible. If that is your desire, you're going to write the most bland and boring piece ever. And then that will piss people off because it's bland and boring.
Right, but also there are just mean people out there.
Yes.
That just go around and give bad reviews. And as a writer, it's so easy to take that personally.
Yes, it's very
easy.
You
just can't.
You can't take it personal, and it's actually overall going to help you because it's going to help the validity of the review stack that you have.
Exactly. It makes it seem more believable that those 5-star reviews are legit.
Yes. Now, as promised, at the beginning of the video, we're going to talk about the next factor, which is critical to your success that you probably don't want to consider, and if you've been paying attention to our language in the video, you might have already been able to guess what that is. And that is categories matter.
Right.
Categories are essentially the genre you're writing in. you might have been able to figure that out already. If you're already on the track of that, you're already writing in a specific genre, fantastic. This one is more for the newbies who want to write something that they want to write, but are not necessarily tailored toward a specific genre. Now, you might feel that it's hacky or that it's selling out to do that, but the thing that helped me transition from that phase of writing, because I very much felt that way when I was starting out, was with Amazon, because if you're self-published, you basically need to sell through Amazon, unless you can leverage a lot. There are other ways to do it, but you can leverage other things, but it's the easiest and probably most profitable way to at least utilize Amazon. And with that, as well as other searching tools, what people look for is they buy a book, and Amazon looks at that information and begins to build a profile on that person. And based on what they've read before, they will give recommendations. The other way is that reader chooses a genre to pick from and then goes through the books in that are high up in that list and then picks from something there. Those are the two biggest ways that someone's going to find a book, to find your book, except for word of mouth and other things that are beyond the scope of this series and this video. We're specifically talking about Amazon here, but this one, what genre you're in, matters no matter where you're selling.
Exactly.
Because those two factors, what they've looked up before and what they're searching for now, are how people are going to find your book.
Exactly.
So, if you're trying to do some artistic something or other that doesn't really fit into any genre, or even if it's, multiple genres at the same time, if it doesn't have a specific thing that it can be labeled under, no one is going to find it. And those who do find it may have read it as a certain label, because you do have to give categories to sell it. They might read it, and it is not at all that genre, and then they'll give you a bad review,
right,
even if it was a good work. Like, you
right,
can...
Right.
It would be very hard to write a good story without following certain conventions of storytelling, because it's not selling out and making a formula, there is a form. Right. It's like music. You can't write a great piece of music without understanding how music works.
Right.
And it's the same way with fiction. You can learn how to write good fiction. There's a certain structure, there are certain elements that make something good. And then you have the different genres that kind of specify that, the different types of music. And it needs to follow some of these things. You can, twist conventions and whatever, but again, if you're not working in there to some extent, people won't find your book, and people won't necessarily like your book, even if it is good.
Right. And you have to choose what these categories are, typically as you're writing.
Yes.
And
yes, the best way.
Yeah.
The best way to do it is pick what genre you're going to write in, and then write your story.
Write in the story with what readers expect to see, the kind of storyline that they expect to see in the genre.
Yeah, the type of beats. You don't have to follow, you don't have to be formulaic with this. You can write an extremely original story, but within certain sections of the story, certain types of events need to take place.
Right.
The specifics of the event can be completely your own. You can read one story in the same genre and read another one, and they're totally different, but when you look at the overall structure, they are similar enough.
In that, yeah.
And that's important.
Right. So with the categories, when you upload your book to Amazon, you have to tell it what categories and keywords you want. And that's why we put this here, because that's how people are going to find you if they like specific genres and they're looking for something new to read. I'm into cozy mysteries. What can I say, right? So I look for yet another cozy mystery, mm-hmm. and that's how I find authors I've never heard of and all these things, and that's how people are going to find you.
Yep, exactly.
Right.
Most people don't expand out of the few genres they like.
Indeed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, if you liked the video, go ahead and leave a like. If you have any questions, leave a comment. If you want to continue watching our videos, go ahead and subscribe so you can be notified when the next one comes out. If you like push notifications, go ahead and hit the bell icon.
That's right. So this is the end of our series.
Yes, the end. Yes, this is we just finished our 10-part series. If you haven't watched the other 10, go back and watch them. They are we've elaborated more in depth on some of the things we talked about today.
Indeed. So, until next time.
Yep. See ya.